Hello and welcome. It's Kelly here from spiritualawakeningsigns.com, coming to you today with one of our best masterclasses yet. It's all about soul retrieval. So how to heal soul loss and feel complete within, because that is the result that you'll be getting from soul retrieval. And don't worry, if you've never heard of it before or you're not quite sure about it, we're going to cover everything that you need to know, and also covering why it's so important for you as you're moving through your spiritual progression and your ascension process to really help you raise into those higher vibrations and that higher energy and align with that. It's going to be excellent. You're going to want to have a paper and pen ready, because there's going to be so much information here that I know that you're going to really know by the time that you're finished today what that process is and how to move through it in order to reclaim these lost aspects of self. So it's going to be fantastic. So the first thing that I want you to know, the most important thing that you need to take away from this masterclass, is that fragments of your soul have been lost. Okay, that would be the title if we had to give it a title. It's really important for you to know this. Fragments of your soul have been lost. This is what soul loss really is, and this is what it's all about. You see, as we move through life, the intensity of that process, whether it's this lifetime or even past lifetimes, the intensity of that process causes a bit of a spiritual dissociation, where aspects of our energy actually split off out of our energy in an attempt to protect us from upsetting experiences, stressful experiences, traumatic experiences especially. And it's really an attempt to protect us. It's an attempt to protect us from the intensity and the pain, the emotional intensity of that event, and maybe even remembering that event at all. Now, it's a concept that's known well within psychology, and it's often talked about and referred to. This splitting off of the psyche. Well, we're talking about it energetically. And when that happens, when these parts of you kind of split off, really what they're doing is they're protecting you, but also it means that you're not complete. Also, it means that you know on some deep level that something's missing. So you might have come through a traumatic experience and you just feel like you've been broken. You might feel shattered by the experience. You might feel that you just can't pull yourself together. All of these things are indicators that your soul actually knows that you're suffering from soul loss, that there's aspects of your energy that are missing and that they need to be reclaimed so that you can become whole once more. It's really important that you listen to these aspects of self, those things that you voice, those that feeling that you have that something's missing. This is all attempts by your soul to let you know that you are missing aspects of self that you need to heal and reintegrate these broken parts, these parts that are holding all of the pain for you. And when you do that, you can really align with that healthy, whole, and more fully awakened aspect of yourself. It's much easier to resonate with a higher vibration when you are complete, when there's nothing missing. And of course, it creates a totally different feeling within as well. We've got lots of different topics to cover on the impact that this has, this soul loss. But what I can tell you is that it happens to everyone. It happens to people going through spiritual awakening and those not going through spiritual awakening. And it's really just a depletion of the soul. So we really want to repair that and to bring you back to oneness, which is very, very important. But first of all, you might be wondering if you are suffering from soul loss. It might be a question that you're wondering if that's something that's really happened and what would the signs be. Well, we're going to cover that for you, because it's very rarely covered in spiritual awakening. I don't really know why, because it's such a huge aspect of it, but it's very rarely covered. But the intensity of painful, stressful, or traumatic events can shatter your soul's energy. They really can have such a big impact. It's just like people say, I had a broken heart. It's like you can have broken energy, you can have a broken soul, and fragments of that energy can be scattered, and ultimately it can be lost. So that energy just kind of gets broken up and it gets disconnected from you, and it's still there holding all the pain, but it's not quite fully with you within. And that's really important. Your system is protecting you. It's absolutely a positive thing. Your system is protecting you from events that are really too painful or too upsetting to handle. And of course, people like us who are on the awakening pathway, we're very sensitive. We're usually empaths. We're very sensitive to intense painful emotions, and we tend to hide away from that. And that's where this spiritual dissociation kicks in really in a big way. It's an attempt to constantly protect us from this harshness of the world, of the 3D reality, and how difficult that is to deal with. So ultimately it's a positive thing, but it can have negative effects as time goes on, because you're depleted, you're losing aspects of self. And quite often it can leave you feeling broken, it can leave you feeling lost, but most importantly, the key factor is it'll leave you feeling incomplete. So you'll just know that something's not quite right, you'll just know that something's missing. They are your indicators that you are suffering from soul loss. Now, like I said, it's ultimately a very helpful protection mechanism. It does really assist us as we move through life and we're trying to deal with the harshness of life. But as we approach that full spiritual awakening, and as we reach those higher levels of ascension, we start to begin to recognise that something is wrong on the soul level. We start to notice that something's missing, that there are parts of us that are broken or that are lost, and we know on some level that we can't possibly truly awaken to the levels that we should unless these aspects of self are reintegrated, and that journey to wholeness actually begins. It's really, really important that we bring us back to that central space. Now, there are a few different things that can cause soul loss, and it's generally caused by damage. So that's the most important thing to know, is that it's damage that causes this shattering of the soul and this fragmented energy that ends up getting lost in lots of different parts. So here are some of the things that tend to cause soul loss. Take a little listen and see if you resonate with any of these at all. So soul loss can be caused by damage such as a single stressful event or long-term stress. Okay, we tend to just keep getting depleted over long-term stress. We lose more of ourselves. It can be caused by damage such as mental, emotional, or even physical abuse. Okay, shatters the soul, breaks us down at some level. It can be caused by physical injury or illness. It can be caused by a single traumatic experience, or multiple, of course. If you've been through one or many traumatic experiences, your soul will definitely have that shattered effect. When you're worrying about the welfare of others, so if you've been caring for others, family members, friends, or maybe that is actually your career, that energy is actually depleting you, because you leave a little bit of yourself with every person that you work with and talk to. And of course it can be caused by the spiritual awakening process. That's really where we're at now. It brings it all right up to the surface, and we really just have to find a way to deal with it and move through. So if you're faced with that just now, don't worry, there's a very easy way to deal with it all, and you won't need a shaman or anything else like that, but we're going to cover all of that in just a little moment. Now, the problem with soul loss is that we end up feeling, like I said, not only depleted's a big deal, but we feel depleted, but we're kind of ill at ease with ourselves, and ultimately we feel incomplete as a whole being, and that's a big problem. Now, like I said, the spiritual awakening process purposely highlights all of these split off aspects of the soul, so it starts to awaken us to the fact that they are there, and usually that happens through suddenly experiencing negative emotions that you weren't expecting, or negative emotions that are either out of alignment with what it is, they're disproportionate with whatever it is you're being faced with, or negative emotion that seems to have no real cause. That's usually when you know it's coming up out of the soul, it's being purged, it's being cleared, and it's really got nothing to do with what's going on right now. So watch out for that. But spiritual awakening, full spiritual awakening cannot occur. It absolutely cannot occur until we are healed, until we have reintegrated all these fragmented parts of self, and so that we can be complete once more. That's the most important thing, is finding that completion, and that's what really gives you that centered stability, that wonderful energy that you see when you do connect with spiritual gurus or other people that have been on this awakening pathway. There's a stillness and a centeredness to them, and it comes from really having all those aspects of self completely with you and fully integrated. Very, very important. Now, the good news is that you absolutely can retrieve and reintegrate all of those different aspects of self, and you don't need a shaman or anyone else in order to do it. We're going to show you how in this video. But let's also talk about the signs that you're suffering from soul loss. So There are a few key things that I find show up time and time again when I'm working with clients in session, and they are usually the indicator that soul loss is at play. So have a listen to these and see if you recognise any of these things within yourself, and that'll let you know a little bit further if you're experiencing soul loss. So 4 key signs that you're suffering from soul loss. Let's start with sign number 1. So sign number 1 is using terms such as I'm shattered, or I feel so scattered, or I was in bits over it, or not together. You know, I'm not together at the moment. I can't pull myself together. Look at the language that you tend to use, because that's what's alerting you. It's your soul alerting you to this kind of brokenness that is within the energy. And I hear these type of terms being used in my sessions with my clients, and quite often the client has no awareness of what it is their soul is actually highlighting in that moment. It's like a throwaway statement to them, but to me, I'm like, oh, there we go, there's some soul loss going on in this person. It's the soul alerting you to the fact that fracturing has occurred and soul loss is at play, and that the soul really longs to be repaired and to become whole once more. It's the soul letting you know. Through you speaking, you don't realise you're doing it, so watch out for that, and you'll also be able to listen out for it in other people as well. It's really a common thing that happens. So sign number 2 that you're suffering from soul loss is that you feel broken within. You feel incomplete, or like something is missing. And this could be something that has plagued you your whole life, or it could be something that's just more recent. And it's a feeling that quite often arises, particularly in the beginning stages of spiritual awakening, but it of course can occur throughout. And what's happening is, as the soul starts to awaken, it begins to become more fully aware of self, more acutely aware of the fact that aspects of the soul are missing. So your soul really has that awareness and consciousness. And this feeling is your soul calling you to find these lost parts of yourself, to find these forgotten aspects of self, and to feel complete again, to complete yourself and your soul by reintegrating them so that you're complete once more. So another key sign number 3, is that you feel depleted or exhausted on a very deep level. Now this again is another really common symptom in spiritual awakening, and it quite often causes us to feel incredibly tired no matter how much rest that we get. I'm sure that you guys will resonate with that, but it's often because we're sensing the exhaustion of the soul. It's not really about the physical body. It's not about what you've done that day or how busy you've been, or you know how hard you worked at the gym. It's really actually about this soul level exhaustion that you are picking up on, and it really indicates a deep soul depletion that only recalling those lost fragments of self is going to be able to replenish and replace. And that's one of the other things. We tend to feel like we've lost our life force energy. We tend to feel just like, you know, that spark of energy and vitality within us is missing, and it's because we're not complete enough to feel that wonderful energy. It's not there. Things aren't flowing right, so watch out for that. And sign number 4, another common one in awakening, is that life feels empty. It feels pointless or even meaningless. And when my client tells me that their life feels empty, it's a red flag for me that they are suffering from soul loss. And it's the result of becoming disconnected from self. That's really what's happening that's causing that, or having lost too much of yourself energetically. So it's already happened. You've been scattered for a really long time. You've lost lots of energy, and it creates not only a depletion of the soul, but a sense that everything's kind of empty. There's no meaning to anything. It just doesn't feel right. It feels so bland. And the thing is that vitality for life and that sense of meaning can only occur when you regain those lost aspects of self, because that's going to create a sense of really knowing who it is that you really are, and it's going to enable you to align with your unique soul path or your soul mission. And of course that's the thing that just revitalizes us completely. That's the thing that gives us this wonderful energy and passion to move forward, and the thing that it is that we feel is important to us, the thing that we feel is in alignment with who we really are, so that you can know yourself. And you can't know yourself if there are parts of you missing. Very important. Okay, So now let's get into our special 3-step process. I'm hoping that by now you will know for certain whether you're suffering from soul loss or not. If you're still uncertain, what I can tell you is I haven't come across anyone who doesn't experience soul loss. It's just something that tends to be kind of a side effect of living. It's a side effect of living normal daily life, being depleted, being kind of broken, being shaped by your learning experiences. And of course, the key thing to know is that it's not just about this lifetime alone. If you're going through spiritual awakening, there's a lot of scattered energy that you've lost throughout trauma, through all of your past lives as well. And of course, this is the time that your soul is really trying to alert you to the fact that these parts are all missing, and it's time to call them back. It's time to be you. It's time to reintegrate all the parts of who you are so that you can be absolutely complete and in oneness within yourself. And that sense of ease and centeredness really only comes from calling all those soul fragments back. And what I've found with spiritual awakening is it's not enough to do it for just this lifetime alone. You really need to call them back through all space and time. That sounds like a big deal, but really energetically it's no more difficult to do. And don't worry, we'll share how to do that just shortly, but you really have to search through all those past lives as well, so that any brokenness and any exhaustion that kind of kept getting gathered up as you move through your lifetimes is getting healed and repaired and released, so that you can get your energy back. Okay, so like I said, we're going to cover our special 3-step process. It is 3 steps to soul fragment retrieval and wholeness within, because that's of course the key. That's of course the place that we want to get to energetically. So by now, if you're going through soul loss, you're probably really tired of feeling broken, incomplete, or like part of you is missing. Now, of course, there's a spiritual reason for that. Like I said, if that's what's going on for you, soul loss is at play. Like we know, fragments of your soul have been lost, and you need to call those parts of you back, all those broken off aspects of energy. You need to call them back and heal them so that you can move forward and so that you can be whole once more. I'm going over this as much as I can, so I will repeat it a few times because I really want to help you to grasp exactly how this part of the awakening process works. Otherwise you'll be stuck with it for a really long time, and I can say that from experience. You really need to make sure that you're calling these soul fragments back, otherwise that feeling of brokenness will just continue for such a long time. And I know for me, as my energy became more sensitive in awakening, I was able to really energetically sense the broken parts. I was able to feel the pain actually of the broken parts, and it wasn't until I started doing more energy work that I realised that it wasn't just a phantom pain or discomfort. It was actually my energy showing me that part of my soul was broken and it had to be healed in order to put me back together. So you must listen to those aspects of self, because what I can say is that if you don't, what happened to me will probably happen to you, and you'll find that you're living with that energetic discomfort for a really long time. For me, it was 3 or 4 years I went through that till I really got a handle on it. It was like, energy healing. Let's start clearing and healing these broken aspects of self. Start putting myself back together. And it takes a bit of patience and it takes a bit of compassion towards yourself, but you deserve it. You deserve to have all aspects of your energy completely with you. There's no way that you can fully awaken without it, so don't waste time. Don't leave yourself feeling broken or that part of you is missing or feeling lost. Whatever it is, don't leave yourself in that state. Move into a space where you're willing to heal yourself, and you can start to move forward in awakening, but it won't happen unless you heal yourself. These symptoms in awakening will just span as long as they need to span for you to get to that place of healing. So better to do it sooner rather than later and save yourself a lot of pain, because what I can tell you is there are no medals, there's no badges of honour for how long you struggle through awakening. That's a 3D thing. The struggle is a 3D thing. It doesn't need to be that way. So just come on, let's move through it. Let's make things easier for you and get you to your destination, which is moving into ascension, moving into those higher realms of energy, energetically. Okay, so 3 steps to soul fragment retrieval and wholeness within. Now, like I said before, as we move through spiritual awakening, we can end up with these lost soul fragments. It causes this spiritual dissociation. Life can be really intense, and we end up with aspects of the psyche energetically splitting off, and they're kind of out here in your energy. They pull things into your law of attraction. They actually manifest things for you. So you don't want pain and trauma and things sitting in your energy field. You want to get those cleared out so that you can change what's actually resonating. That may be the reason that you keep repeating things in your life, because these things are sitting in your energy field and they're drawing negative stuff back in. You want to get those cleared out. But like I said, it can leave you feeling broken, and it can make you feel incomplete. But fortunately, the right time to really deal with that part of the journey, and the right time to begin that journey back to wholeness, is right now. So if you're going through spiritual awakening, what you need to know, like I said before, is it naturally draws all of those lost aspects of self right up to the surface. So you start experiencing their emotion, you start experiencing their pain, you start wondering why you've got new issues, you've got problems with different things, and why your emotions are coming up so suddenly. They don't seem to resonate with anything that's going on around you. It's because it's soul level pain, it's soul level upset, and it's these aspects of self that your soul is becoming aware of and tuning into, and it starts purging through in your daily life, which can make things pretty hectic, I know. But spiritual awakening naturally draws that up to the surface, and that means soul fragments through this lifetime and past lifetimes too. Very important that you remember that. It's not just this lifetime alone, because we're kind of at the end of all the lifetimes. Now we're doing the let's review everything we've done, and let's heal and clear it, and let's move on. Okay, so that's kind of more the space that we're in. So we're having a review of this lifetime lost soul fragments and past lifetimes. So it's a pretty big undertaking. But it's really important that you take the opportunity while it's available to you. It's much easier to do this when you're going through spiritual awakening, when all these soul fragments are so near the surface. They're really easy to access, to heal and to clear. If you wait till after, or you wait to a different point in your awakening, what you might find is that you're digging and you can't quite get at them. The moment will have passed. So really what you want to do is make sure, if it's happening for you now, if you're going through awakening, just deal with it and move through it, and move on into the better stuff. There's much better stuff on the other side, rather than dealing with all the 3D pain. It's very important that you start to move through that, so that you can heal and reintegrate all the different aspects of yourself and reach that total wholeness. Don't waste the opportunity. Please don't spend more time on it than you need to. Begin that journey back to completion and move into the fun stuff. You don't need to stay here in all the difficult stuff. Move into the fun stuff. And you can do that with our special 3-step system. So, 3 steps to retrieve lost soul fragments, heal your soul and feel complete. You can do it in 3 steps, and it's actually really easy. But what I'll do is I'll break it down, and then we'll talk about it a bit further. So if you get a little uncertain about where I'm going, don't worry, just hold on and bear with me, and we'll get to it at the end. So step number 1 is to locate missing soul fragments. Okay, so this is the traumatized part of your energy that has split off. So that's really what you're looking for, is the missing soul fragments. So the parts that have split off in order to protect you from the pain of a particular event. Like I said, it could be from this lifetime, could be from past lifetimes. There's usually a lot from past lifetimes that we're carrying, which is often why spiritual awakening can draw up a lot of pain that we can't always explain. That's exactly why it happens. So the first step is to locate the missing soul fragments. Step 2 is to release the trauma from the soul fragment. Okay, often when I begin working with a client and we're working on a lost soul fragment, a lot of emotion rises to the surface. So sometimes it's shock, sometimes it's anger, fear, tears. They're all really common reactions as that encapsulated energy from the traumatic moment is finally processed, and that's what causes the problem. It's not been processed, it's not been released, so it stays there as trauma in the system. Once you process that emotion, it just all dissolves, and you've released all that energy, that negative energy from your system too, which is really, really powerful. It's very important. Once that emotion has been cleared, the fragment is healed, and it's then at ease and ready to happily be reintegrated. Now the cool thing about this is, and I've worked with this before, when you're working on these soul fragments, they are like fully functioning parts of you. I've worked with this many times over the years. When you're addressing these aspects of self, they just look like a fully formed part of you. It's like a hologram, an energetic hologram. It's like a tiny snapshot of the whole, but this part of you has been dealing with all the pain. So you might find that they're 5 years old and you can connect with them, and they'll tell you all about the pain and all about how upset they are, and everything's from their perspective of where they're at. It's really fascinating work, but you don't need to know all that stuff to work with it. We've got a resource that's going to help you to do all of that, so don't worry about it. But it's just, you can tell I'm really interested in it. It's absolutely fascinating and very powerful. Okay, and step number 3 is to reintegrate the lost soul fragment. So the most important aspect of this entire process is to ensure that the soul fragment that was split off, that was holding all that trauma, is fully absorbed, again, to become part of the whole once more. And it usually results in what I found was a physical sigh or a deep breath, indicating that that shift in energy has been completed, and the client usually has a feeling of relief and peacefulness as that missing piece is finally returned. Now, most people don't realise that they're doing this, but quite often that energy shift, as the energy reintegrates, they take a big sigh or they yawn. There's some sort of shift in the breath that you notice, and that's because this energy is being reintegrated, and you're actually releasing through the breath the negative energy that still needs to be cleared. So that's a really good indicator. Watch out for that when you're doing the healing, because that would really let you know. Not everyone does it, but most people do. Now, you're probably looking at those steps and saying, well, how can we do all those things? I get the steps, but how do you do that? Well, we use energy healing. That's always what we would advise for anything to do with spiritual awakening, is to use energy healing to work on the level where the problem's occurring, and it's occurring on the soul level. It's the energetic level. You must work with that. Now, of course, if you want to work with everything we've talked about today in the soul retrieval, you can work with an experienced shaman or an energy healing practitioner who is well practiced in this area. You can do that. Of course, it'll take repeated visits, but you don't have to do it that way. Or you can use our magic resource, and it'll do it all for you quickly and easily with an energy healing meditation that you can use again and again throughout your awakening process and beyond. And you can use it whenever soul loss strikes. So whenever you see those signs and you know that you're getting depleted, you can just repeat the meditation all over again. Of course, it's not like standard meditation. It's meditation with energy healing built into it, so that you are healing as you meditate. It's very, very powerful, and you're guided through the whole thing by me. It's very easy, very relaxing. So it is an excellent resource to have for your spiritual awakening, to have at the ready when something like this comes up. So we'll talk about more of that in just a little moment. Let's recap what we've learned first today, so that we can just have a little overview. So the first thing that we learned was that fragments of your soul have been lost, that this is a common thing in spiritual awakening and in life, that these aspects of your soul go through trauma, they go through stress, they go through drama, and they split off energetically. As part of the psyche, energetically splits off in an attempt to protect you from all of the pain and trauma. And what happens is then you're left feeling incomplete, you're left feeling that part of you is missing, you might even be left feeling broken, because you're aware that the soul has shattered on some level. The soul is not a complete thing anymore, that energy is different. It can cause a lot of problems in life. So this is your soul alerting you to the fact that you need to heal and reintegrate those broken parts in order to become healthy, whole and complete once more. And you need to heal and recall those broken parts of the soul, so that you can become that awakened higher self that you truly are. You can't do it without this soul retrieval process. It's just not possible to ascend when parts of you are missing. We also covered what causes soul loss. So we have damage such as a single stressful event or long-term stress, mental, emotional or physical abuse, physical illness or injury, a single traumatic experience or multiple, could be many, worrying about the welfare of others because you tend to leave your energy with them, and of course spiritual awakening definitely causes it, just as standard. It's just part of the awakening process, I'm afraid, but ultimately a very wonderful thing for healing. Then we covered 4 key signs that you're suffering from soul loss. So sign 1 was using terms such as I'm shattered, I feel so scattered, I was in bits, or I'm not together, I can't pull myself together. Sign number 2 was you feel broken within, you feel incomplete, or like something within you is missing. Sign number 3 is that you feel depleted or exhausted in a very deep level. Remember, because it's actually soul exhaustion, it's not about the physical being. And sign number 4, life feels empty, pointless or meaningless because so much of you has been broken off and split and fractured that you actually, it's almost like energetically you don't know who you are anymore. You can't really align with anything and you don't have that vitality of energy, life force energy anymore. You need to call those parts back to do that. And then we talked about 3 steps to retrieve those lost soul fragments, to heal your soul and feel complete. Step 1 was locate the missing soul fragments, so checking out where that is in your energy system. Step 2 was release the trauma from the soul fragment. That's the pain from the event that that little fragment is still holding on to for you and protecting you from. And step 3 was to reintegrate that lost soul fragment so that it moves back into your energy. It's fully integrated and absorbed, and it's giving you all the energy that you possess at your disposal. It's very important for self-empowerment as well. Now the good news is that you don't need to go to energy healers, you don't need to train expensively, you don't need expensive repeated sessions with energy healers. If you're ready to get started on healing soul loss right now, then you can check out our brand new energy healing meditation. It's very, very special, the soul retrieval meditation. And it's specifically going to help you to do all those things, to reintegrate those lost parts of self, to heal your soul and to help you to feel complete while bringing back all that vitality of your life force energy. That's really the great effect of bringing all these aspects of self back into your space. Now, of course, you can get started in about 10 minutes time. It's very quick and easy to get it going. And we'll be able to do so much healing in such a short space of time. It's actually a very easy process to actually complete when you use energy healing, but it's something that you need to be very specific about. So that's something that I've worked with for many years, and I feel very confident in it that we can make a huge difference for you. Now, you won't find a healing product like this anywhere else. Our meditations are a special hybrid blend of meditation and energy healing and activations, and it's the equivalent of a specifically tailored energy healing session with me, because I work with the guides. I work with a series of high vibrational spirit guides who are dedicated to helping us on the awakening pathway. That's their passion and their purpose, is to help us get to where we need to go energetically in our awakening, and of course they do all of that wonderful work for us. Now, this meditation is going to repair soul loss. It's going to reintegrate lost or split off aspects of self and the soul. It's going to heal broken aspects of the psyche. It's going to help you to feel complete within, and it's going to replenish and revitalize your life force energy. Very, very powerful. So you can take a little look below and see if it feels like a fit for you. I hope that you've enjoyed this masterclass, and thanks for watching.